She walked into the boardroom with confidence, carrying the weight of a $900 million deal that could change lives forever. But instead of respect, she was met with laughter, mocked not for her skills, but for the color of her skin. Behind their polished smiles, a cruel truth was exposed. Money and power don't erase prejudice. What unfolded next wasn't just about business, it was about dignity, justice, and a moment that would shock everyone watching. The question is, what happens when the one they underestimated holds all the power? Ava Johnson wasn't just another executive. She was one of the few Black women to ever sit at the helm of a billion-dollar company. Years of late nights, relentless determination, and an unshakable belief in herself had carried her to top. Colleagues admired her vision, her employees respected her leadership, and competitors feared her brilliance. On the surface, her life seemed flawless: luxury homes, private jets, and a reputation that could rival any Wall Street giant. But behind every success was a struggle she rarely spoke about. The looks of doubt in boardrooms, the whispered comments she pretended not to hear, the endless need to prove again and again that she belonged. Still, Ava never let it break her. She had bigger battles to fight, bigger deals to win. That's why the upcoming partnership with one of the wealthiest families in America mattered so much. It wasn't just about money, it was about legacy, influence, and the chance to prove once more that brilliance has no color. Yet, as she prepared to close the $900 million deal, Ava couldn't shake a feeling in her gut. Something was off. And soon, she would discover that even at the highest levels of power, prejudice had a way of slipping through the cracks. The day of the deal finally arrived. Ava walked into the grand estate of the Billionaire family, a mansion that screamed wealth and old power. The marble floors echoed with her heels as portraits of past generations lined the walls, faces of men who had built empires on privilege. She adjusted her blazer, reminding herself she belonged here just as much as anyone else thought at first. The conversation seemed professional. Numbers, projections, and growth opportunities. But soon, the subtle jabs began. A dismissive laugh when she presented her strategy. A patronizing smile when she spoke of innovation. One family member whispered loud enough for others to hear, "She's impressive, but can she really handle this scale?" Another muttered, "She's only here because of the times we live in." Ava felt her chest tighten, but she refused to flinch. She delivered her presentation flawlessly, letting the strength of her work speak louder than their prejudice. Yet the atmosphere grew colder with each passing moment. When the family's patriarch leaned back and chuckled, the words cut sharper than any blade. "You've done well for someone like you, but in our world, deals like this stay in the family." The room fell silent. Ava's hands trembled beneath the table, hidden from view. She had endured countless slights before, but this was different. This wasn't just doubt. This was mockery, a reminder that no matter how high she climbed, some people would always see her as less. Her mind raced. She thought of her employees, the countless people depending on her leadership. She thought of the young women of color who looked up to her, dreaming of breaking barriers. She knew the decision she made in this moment would echo far beyond herself. Still, she kept her composure, smiling politely while the family dismissed her ideas as naive. They moved on to toast their own vision for the future, speaking as though she were no longer even in the room. Each word fueled a storm inside her, rage, hurt, and a clarity that grew stronger by the second. Ava realized she was standing at a crossroads. She could bow her head, accept the deal, and let history repeat itself, or she could do the unthinkable. The family didn't know it yet, but their arrogance had just lit a fire they could never control. And with that thought, Ava leaned forward, her eyes sharp as glass, ready to deliver the words that would change everything. Ava took a slow breath, the weight of silence pressing down on her like 1,000 stones. Every eye in the room was fixed on her, some smug, some amused, others indifferent. For a brief moment, she saw the faces of every boardroom where she had been doubted, every deal where she had been underestimated, every door that had been closed simply because of who she was. Her voice cut through the air, steady but sharp. "Gentlemen, I came here to close a $900 million deal. But what I've witnessed today tells me something far more valuable than numbers could ever show." The family members shifted uneasily, their smiles fading. She stood, the scrape of her chair echoing like thunder across the marble. "You think your wealth protects you? You think your name, your history, your power makes you untouchable. But arrogance blinds you. Respect cannot be bought, and I will never sell mine." Gasps rippled through the room. The patriarch leaned forward, red with rage. "Do you have any idea what you're walking away from?" he barked, Ava's eyes locked onto his, unflinching. "Yes, I'm walking away from $900 million. But you've just lost far more than money. You've lost the chance to prove you were better than your prejudice." The silence that followed was deafening. No one moved. No one spoke. For the first time, the family who thought they owned every room found themselves powerless. Ava turned, her heels striking like drum beats against the floor, each step louder than the last dot, and as the doors closed behind her, one truth hung heavy in the air. This was no longer just a deal, it was a reckoning. When Ava walked out of that mansion, she carried more than a canceled deal, she carried her dignity intact. The $900 million she left behind would have changed numbers on a balance sheet, but the decision she made that day changed something far more important: the narrative of who truly holds power. News of her decision spread quickly. Some saw her as reckless, others as bold, but for those who had ever been dismissed, belittled, or underestimated because of their race, Iva's choice became a beacon. She proved that respect is worth more than contracts, and integrity is worth more than wealth. But the story doesn't end with her, because what Ava faced in that boardroom isn't confined to mansions or billion-dollar deals. It happens in offices, classrooms, and neighborhoods every single day. It's the quiet laugh that undermines, the raised eyebrow that doubts, the whispered words that cut deeper than any blade. Racism doesn't always roar. Sometimes it sneaks in through silence, through subtlety, through the spaces where people think no one is watching God. And yet, Ava's story reminds us that silence can be broken. Prejudice can be confronted. And even when the cost feels impossibly high, choosing dignity over compliance is a form of power no one can take away. So the question remains, when faced with injustice, whether in a boardroom or on the street, will we walk away quietly, or will we, like Ava, stand tall and say, enough? Because change doesn't start with billionaires or billion-dollar deals. It starts with us.